All right. My throat decides to itch right now. Okay. Good evening. Good morning. Hey, Nika. Hey, James. Good morning, good afternoon, good day. Hello to everyone who is on, who's coming on. If you're listening to this in recording, hello. I'm Shirley, and this is day number 24. 24 of 45 days. We're making progress. Making progress. Hey, cuz. And having a good time, like I said, having a good time. I said that last night, the night before. It gets better and better. It's getting more and more enjoyable. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do when the 45 days are done, because it's becoming you see how life is, how human beings are. We get so used to things. We so easily get used to things. We so easily come to fit things into our lives. Because when I started this 45 days, you remember me saying this, I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do for 45 days? And we are halfway through. Keep it going. Thank you. We are halfway through, and I'm already beginning to think about afterwards. Let me just say, in about a week or so, we're going to have some guests, which is going to make it a whole lot more fun. We still work with 15, 20 minutes because we don't want to be overwhelming anybody, but we're going to have some conversations with people other than me. Last night, we had a bit of a problem. For some reason, the mic, the sound didn't come through on the Facebook stream. I hope it's doing that tonight. Hope it's coming through properly tonight, because tonight we are talking about soulful leadership. Remember that this week we're talking about leading from inside. Lead from inside is one of the programs we do with the Women's Leadership Circle. And leading from inside is about leading with integrity, leading from who you are, from your deepest knowings and wisdoms, and understanding that leadership is about relationship. Leadership is about relationship. It's not just you telling somebody to do something because you have the power and authority, but it's about building relationships with people, understanding the relationships with people. And so yesterday we talked about self-leadership, which is, of course, the fundamental leadership for everybody. The most basic relationship we can have is with ourselves. And so when we talk of leadership, the most basic leadership we can do is with ourselves. We must first be able to be in a position to lead ourselves well. And I know sometimes when I talk of self-leadership, people ask me, what does that mean? How can you lead yourself? Well, self-leadership is about leading the life that you want, leading the kind of life that you want. It's 2022, in the 21st century. Every human being has a right to be able to decide how she will live. And I'm saying she because thank you, gentlemen, for joining. But this goes for you too, but we're talking specifically about women. So every human being, male and female, has the right to decide how to live their lives. Now, we also know that in many, many parts of the world, women just don't get that option. Women don't get that option. And that is one of the reasons why I do this work. And then in other parts of the world, women do get the option by law, but the custom doesn't allow it. The custom prevents it. And so the law becomes useless. Well, the law doesn't get enforced, it doesn't get followed. So you have places like, let's talk, for example, about Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, women are allowed to drive now by law. That changed just a couple of years ago. after a lot of work. But interestingly enough, the very week the women were allowed, it was signed into law, they arrested some of the women who had been activists for women's ability to choose to drive vehicles or not. There are women who drive in Saudi Arabia now. Most women still can't really just get up and drive because they still need permission from the men in their lives. In India, by law, women can do just about anything they want. Yet, girls still get called, they still get named, given formal names that mean unwanted. And girls and women still get denied all kinds of support, all kinds of respect. In the United States, in Europe, it's no different. In my little island that I tell you I love so much, it is no different. By law, we can do anything that we want, really, but the custom prevents it. And that, for me, is a block to self-leadership, because self-leadership is about you being able to make your own decision, to lead the life that you want, to be trusted to be an adult who can decide the kind of life that she wants. If she wants children, no children, marriage, no marriage, wants to work 12 hours a day, or she wants to stay at home and take care of her kids, work at home. It's choice. And for me, choice is fundamental. So we talked about self-leadership last night, and tonight we're going to talk about self-love. So because we're talking about soulful leadership, remember last night when we talked about self-leadership, we talked a lot about self-exploration, getting to know, exploring, understanding who we are. Because of course we have this notion that because I am me, I know me, which of course is not true. It's not true. Every day, if we're paying attention, we find out things about ourselves. And a lot of times we dismiss them, or we go past them because they're not what we want to know. But we all have a shadow side, and it's important to know and embrace your shadow side to get through it and to use it to bring more light into your life. And so when we talk about soulful leadership, we're talking also about knowing yourself, understanding yourself, and loving yourself. And again, for the most part, we say easy, of course I love myself, of course I love myself, but we don't treat ourselves like we love ourselves, do we? So very often. This goes for both men and women. And unfortunately, we teach our children, we teach the people that we mentor, the people that we lead, we teach them this, we transmit this. And so soulful leadership at the Women's Leadership Circle is about leading with empathy, with love, with care and concern for the other people. It's about understanding that leadership is a high calling. And I mean this whether you are in a position of leadership where you are the top dog, you are the one in front, or it's one of those situations where you find yourself having to lead. Because remember, it's also true that leadership, there's room and there's occasion for leadership at every level on the rung. It's not just the people in the corner office. It's not just the people who carry the title of president or director or CEO who are the leaders. Every level, even children have those moments where they become the leaders. Right now, I'm doing a summer camp with some children because I run a program called the Montserrat Brain Trust. And right now we're doing a summer program. We have 12 children. The youngest is 5, the oldest is 11. And we see the leadership. Today we had them working in groups of 3 groups of 4. And we talked to them about leadership. And we saw the ones say, no, I don't want to lead. But then you saw the moments when the leadership came out. So they are the ones who are the formal leaders of the group. And they're the other ones who took the leadership position on a specific matter. So leadership is something that is occasional. It's opportunistic. It occurs when it is needed, where it is needed, and we can pick up that whether we are the CEO or we are the janitor, quite literally. Yeah. So, but soulful leadership at whatever level is about understanding this, about understanding that who we are, how we are with people, how we treat people, is what makes us good leaders and what makes our leadership occasions really work. And in order to lead with soul, lead from your soul, you have to know where your soul is and what your soul is about. And that requires, again, knowing yourself and being able to love yourself with all your faults and failings. Okay, is being able to accept yourself. That is fundamental. And with women, it's really, really difficult because um, we get so many instructions and requirements about how we should be, how we should look, how we should speak, how we should behave, how we should carry ourselves, what we should and should not do. Women get so much of this from the time we are born, even before we're born, actually, that we're always second guessing, checking ourselves, doubting ourselves. And fundamentally, self-love is about accepting yourself. If you don't accept yourself, you don't really love yourself. So if you're always doubting yourself, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Am I a good enough mother, a good enough sister, a good enough wife, a good enough lover, a good enough employee, a good enough employer? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? Women ask ourselves this over and over every single day on everything pretty much, because we live in this environment that dictates how we should be and what is ideal for women. And even in the 21st century, we're still struggling with that. And so it hinders women's ability to love ourselves. And then, of course, that means that if we don't love ourselves, we make decisions that don't really support us. Remember, last night or the other night, we talked about sacrifice, self-sacrifice, and how women are always required, always asked, expected to sacrifice ourselves for everybody else. But how it is that when women choose ourselves first, how much more it supports other people. Partly because either or is zero sum. Either you get it or I don't, or I do. Real relationship, real love is not either or, it's you and. So when a woman has to make a decision, and the example I gave was my mother, who chose to go away and leave her 4 children when she needed to go improve her education, go advance her education. She made a decision that some people said was selfish. She could have sacrificed her education and her professional advancement for her children. Would not have served us. I would probably not be here doing this if my mother had not done that. You would not be listening to this if my mother hadn't done it. So my mother's decision 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago, 50 years ago, my mother's decision 50 years ago is influencing your life now. Think about that. And what you're experiencing now is going to influence your children and grandchildren and so on. That's how life works. If my mother had sacrificed herself, we would all of us, you and me and all of us, would have missed this. I would be missing this wonderful, wonderful experience of doing this with you. And you would miss I want to say power that my mother transmitted to her children through her having not sacrificed herself. She chose herself, and in choosing herself, chose the world, quite literally. Think about it. That's what I'm talking about. That is what self-love is. That is what leadership is. That self-leadership, that is soulful leadership. You love yourself enough. You love yourself enough to make the choice that you know is good for you and for everybody else. Not just for everybody else. That's loving everybody else, not loving yourself. And that's not leadership. And so soulful leadership is engendered by knowledge of self, exploration of self. And when we talk about love, people kind of go, oh, okay, whatever. Because love is such an ephemeral, undefined, it's impossible to define thing. It means different things for different people at different times. But the fundamental thing about love, the basic thing about love is about relationship. It's about good between people. It's about compassion and empathy and thought and being what is good for all the parties involved. Love is, I went to a wedding on Saturday and I heard, the whole thing, love is kind, love is gentle, love is, I can't remember it. But what I want to say is that soulful leadership is about love for yourself, love for what you do, love for the people you're doing it with, the people you're doing it for. So you can't be, for example, a soulful leader as a nurse if you are miserable about, germs and stuff, and you don't really like, you're just doing it because you're doing a job. You're not a soulful leader as a teacher if you're just doing a job and you really don't care about these brat children that belong to other people. You have to love your work. You have to love what you do. You have to love the people you're doing it with, so your colleagues, and the people you're doing it for. Now, of course, when I say, I don't mean you have to take them home to breakfast and lunch and hang out with them on the weekends, but love them as human beings, respect them as human beings, understand their value just because they're human beings. That really is all you need to do. Recognize their value as human beings and let them be. Understand that. And once you are loving what you do, of course, if you get to love what you do, you love what you do. Let me say this differently. There are lots of people in the world working just for the sake of working because they have to earn some money, working because they have to, There are many people also who are working at something that just really inspires, empowers, drives, motivates them. I wish we could all find that. There's some people who begin to do work because they just have to work, and then they find that they develop a love, a passion for this thing. And so you get up in the morning and you want to go to work. You want to meet the people you're working with and working for, even if the work is difficult and the environment is stressful. So even if you're a police officer, let's say in a big city like New York, in a big dangerous city like New York or London these days, more and more so. But if you love your work, if you see your work as your contribution to the good of other people, if you see your work as you expressing the best parts of you, giving what's good and best about you, then you do your work. Even though it's dangerous, even though it's stressful, you do your work and you're driven by it, you're excited by it, you are inspired and motivated by it, and you go beyond the basic requirements. So, to my mind, if you're a police officer, you don't just shoot a guy because he says, you ask him a question, he says no. That happens so often nowadays. The police officer says, stop. And you say, excuse me, what are you stopping me for? And you end up dead. And I'm not hyper, what's the word? I'm not exaggerating here. It happens. It happens. It happens continuously. To me, that's a police officer who doesn't love his job and shouldn't be in the job. A police officer who loves his job loves also the person. Now, of course, we're not talking about rapists and killers and murderers and all those horrible people. I'm talking just because that's a different story. That's a different matter. But the police officer who understands the humanity of a 16-year-old black boy on the streets of wherever and doesn't just shoot him because he gives him lip. That is soulful leadership. That is the leadership that understands that me giving of myself, of the best of myself, includes that I understand that the good of you. I give you the good parts of me to the good parts of you. I recognize that there are good parts of you. I look for those first. Yeah? Teachers, nurses, scientists, the miserable, ill-tempered receptionist who doesn't look at you when you say good morning. Respond to him or her anyway with love. That is soulful leadership. Because when you walk into a place, for example, and you say good morning, you don't wait to be said good morning to. That is an expression of leadership. That's you in command of your environment. Waiting for other people to tell you and guide you and show you is not leadership. And so when I work with girls, I always tell, like my mother told me, when you walk into a room, Walk in like you belong there. You have a right to be there. You own the room. And when you do that, you don't need to be arrogant because you walk, you say, good morning, good afternoon. How's everyone? You are leading. You are in command. That is all part of what we're talking about here. So, soulful leadership is leading with heart, with love, with empathy, with passion. It's a relationship of spirit. And real leaders get this, and they are this, they be this, and they do this. To help you with that, the same things I advised last night about journaling and self-exploration, journaling, talking to yourself, spending time with yourself, taking care of yourself, real care of yourself, your health, your well-being. And we'll talk about those in next week in a different way. So we leave the details about that, taking care of yourself physically, spiritually, and every other way. But part of loving yourself and expressing your love for yourself is doing that, taking good care of yourself. And self-love supports your soulful leadership. You cannot have soulful leadership without deep self-love. And deep self-love, love is an active verb. So you go actively love yourself. Find ways to actively love yourself. We can talk about those another time. We can talk about those at some point later on in detail. And actually in Lead From Inside, in the program, we do that. So soulful leadership is what we're looking at. Tomorrow we're going to talk about intentional leadership. Intentional leadership. When you just own that, hey, I'm a leader. You own it. And you intentionally be it. Act it. With love, with empathy, with soul, with all those beautiful things. So tomorrow probably about this time too, which is around about 8 o'clock Eastern time. Because I'm getting to the beach tomorrow afternoon. I'm in the little island that I love so much, and tomorrow afternoon I'm going to the beach. I'm with the children again tomorrow until 4 o'clock, and then I'm going to the beach, and then I will come and talk to you. So until tomorrow, thank you all very, very, very much, everybody who's on. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope this has served you. And I look forward to seeing you in the circle. We also have a circle coming up this month. There's a circle every month. I hope to see you in the circle. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I'll give you details about it tomorrow because we're at 23 minutes now. So have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful evening. All right. Yes, Tanika. Yes. Let her do that. I'll check. I'll follow up. I'll see you tomorrow night. Have yourselves a wonderful day, evening. Sleep well if you're going to bed. And until tomorrow, take good care.